Dear friend, today we'll discuss about Spring as well as AMBC framework interview questions regarding to experienced person who is attending for the interview. So, what kind of question is asked by interviewer? So, we have make it few questions commonly asked by the interviewer. So the first question is that what is tight coupling? So why tight coupling is asking because of if we are making any Spring framework based application. So Spring framework mostly work on the loose coupling concept. So that's why I'm making the one question regarding to tight coupling. So when a class A, just I am giving as a reference of class as an example. So when class A is depend on another class object such as a class B, then we are say class A tightly coupled with class B. So Spring help us to create class A where that tight coupling can be removed and loose couple can be done. Okay, so this is the answer of tight coupling. Second question, what is a loose coupling? So loose coupling means how we'll make it a loose coupling when a class annotated or decorated using by component. Such a class is called bean in Spring. So beans are maintained by the application context. That's why here a Spring framework based application whenever we are designing. So here we are using loose coupling. Why I am telling? We are writing any kind of application. Suppose we writing as a controller or repository class or service class. So here we annotating as a repository, and if making a class service, so here annotate with the service annotations, and component is a part of all those classes. Repository and service, it is a parent. Third question, what is the importance of annotation at the rate primary? So why we are using primary annotation? So the answer is that this annotation is used on the class that need to be taken by Spring on a primary basis. For example, or for a instance, if class X is a component annotated, it is depend on both class 1 and class 2, both at the rate component annotated. Then compiler will report as a error. So to show the primary class between class A and class B, so we use primary at the rate primary annotation. Okay, so this is the reason of using at the rate primary annotation. What is difference between component, repository, service, at the rate controller? So here simply how to be answered to the interviewer. Typically web application is developed in layer like a controller, which is initially point of client communication, and business where actual code or logic of application is written, and DAO where database connection and integration is happen. So in such a architecture, web application at the rate component can be used in any of layer, whereas controller is used in the controller or web layer. Service is used in the business layer. Repository is used in the DAO layer. So that is the main differences of component, repository and service. So at the service annotation used for business component, repository used for data layer, component is used for making a bean. So component is mostly a parent annotation of all those repository and service. Controller is also used for making REST APIs. Okay. So this is the answer. What is difference between configuration type XML and annotation? So these are two ways for setting up configuration. They perform in the say a way through when annotation approach is taken, very less amount of code is written and the result would be same as compared to the XML approach. So why we are using? Annotated will take a less amount of code, but XML base will take huge amount of code. Means whenever we are using annotation, so there need to be lot of tags used for compilation and so that tags are properly maintained or not. So that thing need to be keep in mind during the development of the application. But we are using annotation, so during the writing the code at the same time, if anything is going wrong, you will get the or you report the error during the writing the code. And here will not more difficult or not need to be write more code, means it will write a small piece of code for configuration purpose by using, just give the example, @ configuration annotation can be used for making a data source and session object, creating the session object on anything else related to Hibernate. Suppose I am using Hibernate or JPA. Next question is a list out the new feature available in Spring Framework 4.0 and Spring Framework 5.0. So Spring Framework 4.0 is a first to support Java features, but Spring 5.0 has support for the reactive programming and Kotlin. Okay, so this is the main difference. List out the all concepts that are available in MVC architecture. So here 4 point we are noted out in this PDF during the making. Yes, 4 point is there. Sorry, my approach was going to wrong. So first is browser send to request to dispatcher servlet, and dispatcher servlet know the handler mapping, can be find the appropriate controller, and controller execute the request, put the data into model and return back to the view as a view name to the servlet dispatcher. So servlet dispatcher used a view name and view resolver to map to the view. So that is a working scenario of MVC architecture by using dispatcher servlet. How to define @ controller advice in Spring Framework. This annotation used for logic need to implement commonly in multiple classes, just like as a controller. For instance, if an exception or its subclass or when exception is raised in the classes, it will handled by the method annotated with. Okay, with exception handler. Whenever exception occurred in any of controller, that exception is handled by the method annotated with exceptional handler. So why we are using controller advice? So controller advice we are writing. So it will handle the multiple controller whenever if they generate any kind of exception, so that can be handled through by using @exception handler. So that can be say as a global exception handling mechanism. Okay, if we are using to these things. How many beans scopes are supported by Spring? So Spring supported by 5 scope. One is a singleton. This is provide scope for bean definition to single instance per Spring IOC controller. Okay. Prototype, this provide scope of single bean definition to have any number of object instance. Request, this provide the scope of bean definition to a HTTP request. Session, this is provide to scope of bean definition to HTTP session. Global session, this provide to scope for bean definition to a global HTTP session. Okay. How do you understand by the qualifier annotation? When you create one or more bean of the same type, okay, when you create more than one bean of the same type and want to write only one of them with a property, you can use qualifier annotation along with auto wired to remove ambiguity by the specifying which act bean should be wired. Okay. So qualifier meaning is that if your type of one or more bean created one or more bean than one of the same type, in that cases will use the qualifier annotation with auto wired to remove ambiguity specification specifying which exact bean should be wired. Okay. The name type of transaction management in Spring support. So Spring support two type of transaction management. Number one, programmatically transaction management. In this, the transaction is managed with the help of programming. It is provided you extreme flexibility, but it is a very difficult to maintain. Okay. Declarative transaction. This is the transaction management is separate from the business code. Only annotate or XML based configuration are used to manage the transaction. For example, if you are writing in the business component in front of class @transaction, that should be managed internally managed without writing any kind of code. If you define inside the method level, so you can define inside the method level. Okay. So this is a part of transaction management. Next question is that is singleton bean or thread safe in Spring Framework? So we can say no, because of singleton class are not thread safe because of we are don't using any kind of synchronization mechanism. Okay. So this is a not thread safe if we writing any kind of bean. Why I am telling? If you define at the red bean and you write any component returning the new reference of bean, so in that scenario you are not making any kind of synchronization mechanism. That's why by default it is no. If you want make it synchronization, so separately you can do and handle with the synchronization mechanism. What is the front controller of Spring MVC? So that is the dispatcher servlet. Simple answer. What is cross-cutting concern and concern in the Spring AOP? So cross-cutting concern, it is a concern which is applicable throughout the application. It is affect the entire application. Example, security, logging and data transfer are concern which are needed almost every module of application. Okay. Concern is the behavior that we want to have in module of application, issue in which are interested defined in our concern. Okay. So that's it from my side. Whatever make it this question and most probably asked by the interviewer during the interview call. So whenever we'll upload this video, then we'll attach to this PDF for your reference. So before closing to this video, I will request, because of we are making this such type of question and taking so much time, so I am doing hard work on this. So here I will request to you, please subscribe to my channel and like to this video. It is encouraging to us for making new video and make it and share you again. Thank you watching my video.